Why is there so much hate around this knife? Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but so this is the Spyderco Little Temperance 3 lightweight. So you can see it has the FRN scales in VG10 with the serrated blade. This one was just released recently, in the last couple of weeks or so. I actually picked this one up off of Spyderco's website. I can get the discount for like military personnel, nurses, stuff like that. So I picked it up there, but I had a pre-order out there for Knife Center, but I canceled that because with the discount, it's just cheaper to get it off Spyderco's site. But yeah, I mean, when this was first announced, I was excited. Like I like the Little Temperance platform. I think it's unique, like a lot of Spyderco's. I think it's somewhat purpose built, but at the same time, it can be used as an everyday carry pretty effectively. So the idea is this is either it kind of doubles as a self-defense knife and a utility knife. And it has qualities that reflect both roles. And this video is kind of be a little bit of a review of my thoughts, but at the same time, it's going to be, you know, it kind of plays into why is there the amount of dislike for this knife that there is, or maybe it's just people just think it's too expensive. I don't know. But the Little Temperance platform itself, this is the third iteration or generation of it. The first, let me phrase this. The first third generation came with G10 scales and S30V blade, which I have that one. I have not done a video on it, but it came with those materials. This is kind of the second generation of that third generation with the lightweight scales, the VG10 blade, and then this one comes in either a serrated edge or a straight edge. And the characteristics that make it a self-defense knife include it has the strongest compression lock the Spyderco has ever put on a knife. I think that still stands here. That's what it used to be. But you can see here it's longer than normal, and that's so that it doesn't accidentally close on your hand. It also has these two opposing divots. There's one here and there's one here, so that you can easily index from like a forward grip, and then you can easily index from a forward grip to a reverse grip, and I think the maneuver is something like that. So then you have the reverse grip there. So the divots sort of act like a rotation point for that. And then the other quality that it sort of is part of the utility, part of the defense, it sort of falls into both, but it has a very, very short, I think they call it a ricasso, but it's very short back here, and you can see there's not really much behind the edge, and the purpose is to have as long of an edge as possible. And they talk about this in the materials that come with the knife, but that sort of plays into both roles. And those are the main things that make it a self-defense knife. The things that make it a utility knife would include, or just like an everyday carry piece, would be things like well, I guess the pocket clip. They make the pocket clip so that you can put it in one of 4 locations. You can see here you can put it in tip down or tip up, left or right side carry, so they make it 4-way configurable. So that's more, I don't know, that's more on the carry side to make it easier and more usable for people. And then, as I mentioned, the edge as well, the way they design it to have as much cutting edge as possible, that's also for the utility crowd. And then it has a full flat grind, which is better for slicing, which, you know, Spyderco has done for years. And they claim that, you know, that makes it a more usable knife in everyday situations. I forgot to mention the thickness here. This is kind of on the self-defense side. You can see how thick it is. So yeah, it has some qualities for defense. It has some qualities for utility. And that's sort of the idea behind this knife. There aren't a lot that in Spyderco's lineup specifically that carry both purposes. They have like the matriarch and the civilian, but those are really just self-defense. They don't really have a lot of utility. And then the rest of their knives, like the Sage, the paramilitary, just things like that, those are primarily just utility. So the thing that I don't quite understand is this knife in the G10 version, which was the first iteration, or in this lightweight version, they just don't really get a lot of appreciation, I don't think. And I don't quite understand why. I think the price is a big factor. So this one retails for about 180 bucks. So it's pretty expensive. People see the FRN scales, especially, and they're like, oh, you know, it's 180 bucks for FRN and VG10. But what I think they're missing is, I think they're missing the subtleties of the design. You know, again, the extra strong compression lock, the thick blade stock. You know, this is a very strong knife. It has the steel liners, the configuration of the pocket clip. I think they're just missing some of the subtleties, and you know, especially if you get this serrated edge, VG10 doesn't. It's a fine steel, like it's going to cut for a long time. In the straight edge, you know, you'll have to sharpen it more often than other steels, but it's, especially in the serrated, it's going to cut for a long time. So I think some of it's the price, you know, when you compare that to the materials. And I think some of it is the design itself, which, you know, in my opinion, is kind of polarizing, right? It has this leaf-shaped blade, and when Spyderco says leaf shape, you know, you think of like the Mannix, you think of maybe the Sage, but this literally looks like a leaf. It's kind of short, it's sort of stubby. I think the length on these is around 2.5 inches, maybe a little bit longer. But yeah, I think the design itself is sort of polarizing. The handle is very wide. It does provide really positive grip, and especially with this texture on these scales. And I don't know. I just wonder if people see this and they just don't really love the design. So yeah, I think price is a big one. The design, you know, maybe a little controversial. And then I think the other piece is, I think some of Spyderco's more fringe models, I guess, I think they just get overshadowed. I think people just don't really know about them, because I posted a picture of this after I got it, and I had so many people asking, like, what is that model? Like, what is that? That's really cool. Like, what is that? And I think some of it is Spyderco just doesn't, they're just not as well known. This one's been around for a long time, the little Temperance. But I think people just don't really know about it a lot. So hopefully with this video, more people will know about it. And hopefully more will be convinced to check it out. And I would say if they don't want to pay the full price, you know, find one on the secondary market. It's a great knife. I've carried my G10 version as like an everyday carry, and I've used it. It works great. And then this one with the serrated edge is going to be fantastic for like cardboard or rope or, you know, whatever. They're also pretty fidgetable. Like, you can spidey click them very easily. And the FRN scales, it says it even in the material, they don't subtract that much weight, but they add the purchase of the pattern that Spyderco does on these scales. So that's a big advantage. This feels even more attached to my hand than the G10 version. So that's a big plus. So yeah, this is the little Temperance 3 lightweight. It does come in a straight edge as well. I would recommend the serrated edge. And just hopefully it gets a little more love than the past versions have. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you on the next one. See ya.